To replace the transmission fluid on a 3rd gen Tundra, you will need 5 quarts of Toyota WS automatic transmission fluid, the drain and fill crush washers, 6mm Allen key, 12mm and 14mm socket, a catch basin, some way to measure ounces, and a fluid pump. I have a cheap recommendation in the description. Alright, so you're going to take off this cover. This is our fill. There's our drain. Make sure you pull the fill first and then the drain, ensuring both are able to come out. Alright, whenever you pull the drain plug here, there's also a straw that does the leveling. So the drain plug and the straw are both going to be a 6mm Allen wrench. So you got to pull the straw for it to drain out the majority of the fluid. Measure your fluid. You're going to be putting it back in the same amount plus maybe half a quart. Let it come up to temperature, and then we will use that leveling to get the right level at temperature. So the drain is a 6mm, fill is 14, and your 2 gaskets, I'll put numbers in the description about what part numbers those are. Alright, so it's pretty much all drained out. I'm going to take my tube and put it back up in there. This is our leveling tube. I'm going to feed this all the way back up till it stops. And you're not going to kill it whenever you put it in there because it's plastic. Okay, so it's about where it is, and I'm just going to give it a tiny little tight, and that's it. And then put the drain plug on, wipe everything down. We're not going to tighten up the drain plug all the way because we got to take it off to level. We don't want to smash the crush washer and have to reuse it, so we're just going to put it on tight enough to where it'll not leak. So my capture bucket, I measured out how many I have. It was 118 ounces. I got 8 ounces saved to send off to lab if I can, to see how it's doing. So that is 3.7 quarts, and so I will be putting in 4 quarts into the transmission, let it heat up, and then let the excess dump out once it's heated up. So here I am pumping that 4 quarts. I've got a cheap Amazon pump that's got a little grabber thing up top that helps me to keep that in while I'm pumping. So replace the fill, tighten it down, and then replace the cover that needs to go on here. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start the car, and within 60 seconds of starting the car, we're going to transition between the reverse, neutral, and drive, waiting 3 seconds each. So drop down to reverse, 2, 3, neutral, 2, 3, drive, 2, 3, park, 2, 3, and then between neutral and drive a bunch for 12 total seconds. The display is bopping between D and N, and after 12 seconds the D will appear, it'll disappear, and notice how I'm putting it in park and the D is flashing. So when the D disappears, that D disappearing says, hey, I'm coming up to temperature. D solid means I'm at temperature, and you can go underneath the car and check your level. Blinking D means you're over temperature. So I took it for a drive and came back to record this. So I'm over temperature right now. I'd have to wait for the truck to cool down before I could attempt getting a level check on this. But had I done this and it completely went away I just let the truck sit there for a while. For me, it took about 5 or 6 minutes. And then the D appeared, and that's when I went underneath the truck that you'll see here in a second and pulled the drain pan and let it flow until it got a small trickle. But notice I'm in park here, but it shows D flashing. For you, you're waiting for it to not be there to get eventually get a D that's solid. All right, so here is me after the D was solid on the dash. I jumped underneath the car. Watch your fingers, the car is still on. You don't want it off during this process. Opened up the drain. I'm looking for a slow trickle here. But what I ended up finding is that I did not add enough transmission fluid. So if you get what I get, I didn't get anything really coming out here. So I had to go through a little bit of the process again where I opened up the fill. I added about another quart, and here's me. After I added another quart, I went through the temperature procedure with turning the car on, going through the drive neutral, got the D to go away, it came back, and now I'm opening up and I'm getting that fluid coming out. I'm looking for a slow trickle. Once the slow trickle happens, then or dripping, then I'm going to replace the fill. I'll then torque down replace the drain. I'm going to then torque down the drain and the fill and put the cover back on, clean everything up, and mark the job as done. Here we go. I'm starting to get that slow trickle and drippy, so I go and put the drain plug back in and torque it down. This whole process took about an hour.